Our mission for the iTeachELL project is to prepare teachers to teach culturally and linguistically diverse students.
Learning is a social process, and our goal is to support students in bringing the content to them while we infuse language to support their learning and give them that enhanced language experience so they grasp what it is we're trying to teach. So the disciplinary discourse that we're using, we want our students to talk like mathematicians. We want them to use the language that a mathematician would use. So we give them vocabulary, but we don't want to just say the vocabulary word in the definition. We want them to experience it. And so it's looking at the discourse just a little bit differently than we typically have. It's a shift in how we work with standards and how we are focusing on language as an enhancement. So justification, it's a big word. Basically what it means is you're trying to convince somebody of something. So if you were to go tell your parents, today you need a new backpack, nod or shake your head, what do you think their answer would be? No. So you have two choices. You can walk away, or you can stick around and say, here are the reasons I need a new backpack. We're going to bring this word into math. So you're going to justify your answers. It's not enough to say 1 + 1 is 2. We designed this lesson to support students working collaboratively to solve a problem. We wanted them to talk to one another using language that a math teacher would typically use. But what does it sound like to actually justify your answer? What does it look like to justify your answer? So they brainstormed at their tables to decide, well, it's probably going to sound like this. And so we put all that on a poster so they could really visualize what it's going to look like and what it's going to sound like. How do I know that's the answer? You have to tell me why. You have to convince me why. So what might that look like? What might that sound like? We're going to give you 60 seconds in your groups to talk about what it looks like to justify and what it sounds like to justify. And we're going to write some of those down. So talk in your groups, 60 seconds, go. So what would you say to me?
My backpack is ripping. It's falling apart. It's super old. I've used it for like 2 years.
Let's go. I'm getting the car keys. Got my wallet. Let's go. You convinced me. You persuaded me. Love it. The other piece that we brought into this are sentence frames or sentence stems. The sentence stems are meant to build upon their prior knowledge and enhance the language that is necessary for them to gain access to the content. And so what we provide them those stems for is giving them a way to communicate to one another the language of math. But it's also a group activity.
For ELLs, it also allows them to participate in the discussion, and they might not have the words to define in words what a whole number is, but maybe they have a visual or they can draw a number that represents what a whole number is.
So they can visualize it, they can learn the word and see an example.
And so that allows them to participate in the discussion as well.
And potentially be successful in the lesson because now that language has come to life.
For this lesson, the lemonade stand, our objective was to have students justify their answer of whether or not there was enough ingredients to serve 72 people at a lemonade stand. Define?
Yeah, we have enough sugar because we added 1/2 like 6 times to come up with 9 cups.
How many cups?
1, 2, 3, and 3 + 6. This is 9 cups of sugar.
Okay, so this is your 1.5, right?
My model shows 2/3 because 2 bars are filled in and 1 is left.
I think they did a really nice job of that explanation using justification and using the math terms that I have this many whole numbers, I have this many fractions. If you combine these fractions, that's the answer that I'm getting.
And then at the end of the lesson, we actually had them get up with their graphic organizer or their graph paper, and they had to meet with another student from another group. And they had to share their process, and they had to justify their answers of whether or not there was enough ingredients to make the lemonade. You're going to put your hand up. You're going to pair up with someone from a different table. And you're going to take your papers and your work and explain whether or not we have enough ingredients to make lemonade. Yes or no, and how do you know? Ready? Go.
We need 1/2 of a cup more milk than what we have.
When I did this, I separated the sugar and the crushed. So the fraction 3 + 3 is 6.
I think the powerful part of that is it's one thing to talk to your partner that you worked with this whole experience, but it's another thing to go outside your group, listen to the way they thought about it, listen to the language they were using to justify their problem, and then take your problem and justify the way you did it to them. And I think that was a powerful piece in that it takes them to that next level of communication, that next level of language. Because I might be working with a partner that thinks like I think. Now I have to explain it to another person whose thinking is a little bit different than my group. And I think what it did was it brought more meaning to the content, it broke it down for them in their mind, and it had them really think about, how do I explain this to somebody else if they're arguing with me? The problem is the basis of what it is we're working with, but the English language enhancement is really the key to working together and making learning a social process.